And we are on. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Gnosis. This week's episode will be our best one yet. We're going to really get into this conversation of plastic. And I don't want everybody to feel doomed either, because we're going to really get into solutions. I'm sure you guys are like, whoa, there's plastic in my salt. What do I do? So, yeah, we're going to get into those solutions. So this is one I think you should stick around for sure, all 45 minutes. This is going to be a good one. But if you wanted to know if we were doing clips, we are. We have a clips channel now. Woo! So our YouTube channel, Gnosis, the podcast clips, is now a thing. So if you can support that, how you've been supporting this, that would be greatly appreciated. It's not always easy starting things from the bottom up, right? So we appreciate all support. And go ahead and share it with your friends, like and all that, because we're about to drop some cool info. And this is stuff that's really important. You really hear a lot of weird things here and there, but one thing we do know is, and this is something that's kind of going viral again, and this is largely why we wanted to do this episode, is the report from 2019 is resurfacing about how we consume about a plastic or credit card's worth of plastic a week. So get a credit card right there, look at that plastic and think, wow, I'm eating that on a weekly average. So I mean, that's a lot. That is a lot. And think about that in a year. That's a lot. So you can only imagine what's going on there. And we're going to get into all that crazy stuff. We're going to highlight that study. We're going to go into it. But I think we should start with the history, because I think people look and they, when it comes to these problems like pollution and all that, the elitist people always want to blame you, because it's really them that are, they're the reason why bad stuff happens, right? Somehow pollution's your fault, despite that DuPont was dumping forever chemicals in the ocean and that companies invented pesticides. So how? War is a large polluter. How is pollution your fault? No, it is your fault. And then some people who have nothing better to do fall for these talking points, and they're like, oh, look, something to make me tell people what to do so I feel more important. And then they go yell at you because some billionaire is in his private jet telling you how you need to reduce your emissions while he's flying around in his private jet. Somehow your Honda Civic is more damaging to the world than his private jet. And your neighbor, who has nothing better to do, goes and yells at you. And that's how we start fighting against each other. Don't eat meat. Don't do this. Don't do that. It's just this loop, and it's been going on forever. You look at the 80s, Coca-Cola was running the campaigns for recycling, despite the fact that recycling hasn't done much because it's so expensive to recycle, and plastic's just not sustainable. You can't even reuse plastic because it's bad for you. So it's just one of those things. And, it didn't always have to be this way. And that's what we're about to get into right here, because you're probably thinking, well, what was life before plastic? And it was a good one. It was a good life. We were using ivory. And so when you think of like a piano and the piano keys being plastic, they were once ivory. So yeah, ivory is not the best thing, when it's coming from an elephant, but your nails and toenails, and nails, they produce ivory, right? The same material. It's the same material. So you can do the same things. And with modern technology, it would be the same thing. It would be the same thing. Right now, we'd be doing crazy stuff. And I'm sure some of the animals we farm, some of like the hoofs and all these weird material from the animal, I'm sure you can use it for ivory type of things too. And, we're seeing like hemp plastic come out. So we're not like completely doomed, but I'm just saying that we had the right idea back then. But, plastic's a petrochemical. So when you're going against plastic, you're going against big oil. And that's not a fun enemy to have. It's a very, controlling business. And when you go back in history and you think, how did this all start? You really have to look at prohibition, because prohibition was one of the big things that really bumped up the big oil, because ethyl alcohol was very cheap and it was what people used to, power their cars. So once you ban that, Rockefeller is like, oh yeah, they have to use gasoline now. So now they have to spend more money, and now I'm making more money. So that's like part one. If there's someone who's super pro-prohibition, it's someone like Rockefeller, because once prohibition ended, it is what it is. He already made his mark, because you look at cars and there's so much history. The first guy to make a car was an African-American man, and I believe it was an electric car that he made. So yeah, it's crazy, right? This is crazy history. But what's even crazier is like even Mr. Ford, Henry Ford, when he was making his cars, he made a hemp car. He made a hemp fiber cars. You think of like carbon fiber, stronger than steel or whatever they say. It's lighter than steel. Hemp was lighter than steel, stronger than steel. It's the same thing. So this is old, right? So hemp was really the big up and comer here. So when you look at, again, why plastic was able to take over, once it was truly invented in the early 1900s, it was able to rank up, because while plastic was new, cotton was its thing and wood was its thing, hemp had a history, right? Our founding fathers grew hemp. The Constitution was written on hemp. It's a large part of American history. And, you look at pictures right now, the pharmacies and drugstores or whatnot, whatever you want to call them, back in the day, early 1900s, 1800s, you had cannabis tincture oils, cannabis oil, all that stuff there. There was no ban. It was just cannabis. But, once the prohibition of alcohol ended, you had a man named Harry Jacob Anslinger, a guy who was working on that whole, prohibition stuff. He comes around, and as prohibition starts to fail, he starts to look to the next thing. And he wasn't fond of Mexicans, so he figured, all right, let me figure out how to slam them, how to do something to get the public's control, basically. And this is what any, leader does. This is really any leader is going to do this, because once you get the control of people based off of fear, it's over. And we see this time and time again, over and over again, the COVID stuff, fear, everything's fear-based control, right? So he comes and he starts to go and turn the whole country to oppose weed. And he calls it the devil's weed. He changes the name to marijuana and makes it sound like it's more Mexican. I mean, this is a crazy thing. This is a crazy history, but that's really what happened. And so that's the story of that. So when that's coming out, William Hearst is like, well, shoot, hemp's threatening my paper or, my wood industry that I'm involved in, because he was involved in timber and he was doing journalism. So it's like, oh, this is threatening me now, because hemp had, there was a new invention for hemp, right? So this new invention allowed it to become much more profitable. You were able to produce hemp a lot quicker, because hemp kind of it was like a big thing, then it kind of went low, and then it came back because of a invention called the decorticator, and that right there was like the cotton gin for the hemp product, right? It was just allowed it to be processed way quicker. So because of that, it now posed a serious threat to someone like William Hearst. Not only that, but he could get behind the rhetoric against the Mexicans. So it was like a double thing for him. So now you have a rich guy supporting this mission, this whatever you want to call this campaign. And in turn, you now are slowing down what would be the best material, hemp. Hemp paper would be made cheaper, quicker, better for the environment, all that good stuff. And that would just can you imagine? We wouldn't be using them for anything. We'd be having hemp toilet paper. We'd have hemp everything. And we'd be a lot healthier, a lot better. The earth would be a lot better. And then the same thing comes around with John D. Rockefeller. See, hemp always posed a threat to oil. And I think that's probably one of the bigger reasons why. Between the paper industry and the oil industry, hemp was just, it was getting attacked from all sides. It's really sad that this is the reason why so many people are separated from their children, from their wives, husbands. It's all because of this. It's all because of money. It's not because, cannabis is something bad. It was normal, and it just became the bad guy. And it's crazy, because you look at, this is before like the big weed stuff started to come around, right? That's when the Mexican cartels made the seedless weed and all that. So this is before that. So cannabis is not super popular. It's just a whatever thing. And it was more so the material that was big, because the inventor of the diesel engine, Rudolph Diesel, what did he use? Well, he used hemp oil to run that original machine. That's not, if you're Rockefeller, you're like, a new guy's on the block. Well, guess what? Because you have enough money, you can stop the new guy from being allowed to enter the block. And that's really what he did there. Again, it's a cheaper, more eco-friendly, environmentally friendly. It's just overall better, much more sustainable. So it was always going to beat both industries. It was always. And I think they knew that. Because not only that, you had hemp, hemp could be used for dynamite. Henry Ford was making hemp fibers to build his cars. because it was, it's so light, but it's so strong, stronger than steel. So it's always been this thing that's been going on here. And it's unfortunate that people don't know this, that people do not even realize this. I mean, nobody talks about this. When you're in class, they just tell you, oh, don't do drugs, red ribbon and all that stuff, and the dare and all that stuff is BS. I'm sorry, it's BS. It's coming from, first off, not only racist origins, but origins that are responsible now for what's going on in the world with sickness and all that. All these petrochemicals that are hurting us, they didn't need to exist, because we all know hemp would have blown plastic out of the park. It would have been over. It would have been over. We would have been a lot more self-sustainable, a lot more sustainable, and everything would be a lot better. But no, unfortunately, no. But thank God in 2018, Congress and the Senate were able to agree on a bill, the Farm Bill, to pass hemp legislation to legalize hemp. So hemp itself, industrial hemp, is legal. Any byproducts, so like CBD, that's all legal now. And Trump signed it, boom, so it became law. It is the law of the land now. Thank God, finally something. But that was a few years ago, and we have yet to get anything better, because the government, even if they legalize weed, they're going to want taxing and control of it. But I guess it's better than nothing, right? But I don't even know anymore if it's better than nothing. The point is that we have a long way to go, and that put us back so many years. We'd be living, we'd have flying cars right now if hemp was not made illegal, honestly. And the same thing with psychedelics. You know what I mean? It's the same thing with all these drugs. These drugs were used way before, no problems, no issues. Everyone was doing great. People were healed. People were happy. Alcoholism was being cured with mushrooms, with LSD, with all this stuff. And then, the government, the pharmaceuticals, a lot of them running up with the petrochemical industry, because petrochemicals, a lot of that technology was used to make more chemicals during World War II, which led to the rise of pharmaceuticals. So it's all connected. It's all connected, and it all starts from that one guy, Rockefeller, and his freaking petrochemical BS. I mean, he's a horrible guy. Don't ever listen to anyone that even gives him the time of day. This guy's horrible. If you want a horrible story, I'm like 99% sure it was him. He hired the National Guard. That's how rich this guy is. He hired the National Guard to shoot and terrorize protesters from his own business that were protesting for better working conditions or something like that. Crazy, like batshit stuff. And that's him. That's who he is as a guy. Horrible guy. And that led us to where we are now. And here we are now with plastic contamination just running through everything, destroying everything. And that's what we're about to get into right here, because I think people don't even know. People don't even know how serious this stuff is. You look at, on a global scale, that report that we're consuming up to a credit card's worth of plastic per week, that came from just drinking water, shellfish, beer, and salt alone. Now, the drinking water in this report also included plastic bottled water, which we know individually compared with tap water. So if you compare tap water and bottled plastic water, you're getting 90,000 more plastic particles per year. That's like the higher limit of that. So that's a big difference. So yeah, again, another thing to put into perspective there, you can kind of picture it now. Also, I think the reason why they use the plastic water bottles in this report for that we're eating a credit card's worth of plastic a week, it's because there's a lot of countries that only use plastic water bottles. Like Mexico, the tap water is not very clean. So that's something that's done there. But, weirdly enough, the U.S. actually has really dirty tap water. At least maybe this is just like an error, some anomaly or something. But the samples that they did take, per 500 milliliters of water, on average, there were 4.8 fibers. So per 500 milliliters, that's one of the highest rate. That is the highest rate on this chart in this study. So the way that they chart it, that is the highest one. Now, overall, out of all the tap water, all the samples, 94% of the samples had plastic in them. That's the second highest. The highest is Lebanon, where 98% of the samples had plastic in them. However, per 500 milliliters, it was still less than the U.S. So that's pretty crazy. That says a lot, I think, that we're not as clean as we think we are. You look at other countries, you think, oh, poor, dirty, scary. No, unfortunately, that's what the U.S. is becoming. So yeah, and again, I'm saying fibers. That's the key word here. It's always plastic fibers. It's always the polyester. So somehow the invention of polyester has been one of the worst things for us ever. It's not even like this is anything else. It's literally polyester. 98 or something percent of it. Let's see here. Yeah, there's a report somewhere where it was like 90 something percent. That might be in the salt report. So I don't know if it's a similar study to this. I don't know because the way that they got the credit card number, like, oh, we're consuming the credit cards with the plastic, it was these Australian researchers looking through like over 50 papers, and they came to this number. So I think some of those papers included what we're going to get into shortly with the salt. And that's where I saw that basically something like 99 or 98% of all the plastic in the salt it's polyester. It's the fibers. So yeah, a horrible situation, honestly, because again, that really didn't need to happen. Again, hemp for sure. There's no argument there. Hemp and cotton way better than polyester clothing. But man, and you have to remember there's some subsidies with it. So, if I don't know, maybe corn clothing will be a thing one day, because at least there's subsidies on corn, but I don't know. I don't even know. It's a sad situation. It really is a sad situation. But yeah, so now for Americans, I'm sure you guys want to know America's rate. So Americans have their own rate, which seems to be a little lower on average. It's, a range of 39,000 to 52,000 microplastic particles. But what's a little different and interesting from this number is it seems to include more. So it says shellfish for the global one, right? The American one is saying that they're getting these numbers from seafood overall, from water, sugars, that's interesting, salts, and alcohol. So not just beer, alcohol in general. So it seems to be a little more open. So even with it accepting more sources, it seems to be still a little lower. However, like I said, compared to drinking tap water, when you're using plastic bottled water, you can ingest up to like 90,000 more microplastic particles per year. So that's a lot. On average, that's a lot. So that just goes to show you, slap a filter on your tap water and pour the water in glass. Pour it in bamboo. Put it in stainless steel. And it's not that expensive. Mason jars you can get for like $1, and you use them as a cup. They last forever. They don't crack that easy. Go to garage sales. Garage sales have glass. As long as the glass doesn't really have paint, there's not really a concern with like lead. So obviously do your research. I'm not too sure about the lead and stuff, because I know there's some where it's like you can barely see it and it's hard to tell. So do some research on it. But garage sales are a great place. Same thing with cast iron, the cast iron pans you can get there, and stop using the plastic utensils. So all this stuff adds to it, right? You're cooking seafood, shellfish. It doesn't help if you're cooking it with plastic. So yeah, it's all the little things that count, as you can see here, to get that number down as low as possible. You can only do what you can do without breaking the bank. So I understand. That's why I say mason jars. If you get 2 mason jars per person in the house, it's under $20. It's not that much considering how long it'll last. And it's made in the U.S., so people are getting paid fair wages as opposed to like slave labor and child labor. So yeah, pretty disturbing stuff there. But now let's get into the salt, because I love salt. You probably like salt, and you're probably scared like, whoa, what do I do? So with salt, I'm going to shout out the blog. So this lady has a blog where she kind of breaks down the study and the report about the plastic and salt, which I think made up some of the reporting in some of these collective studies that we just talked about. But she does a really good job pointing some stuff out. So I'm going to kind of read it in order from her. Because basically what she's saying here, and I'll shout her out right here, ascenttohealth.com. She's talking about the microplastics. This study didn't really name the brands, so I don't know to what extent and what is what, but most of them is pretty obvious. And so that's something I'll kind of highlight in. But, microfibers, again, that's the big problem here. So 81% of the tap water had plastic particles in the study that this salt study was done in. So that's still a lot. And they were tiny synthetic fibers. So they were again, it's polyester, right? Now, the scariest thing, and she talks about this, is microbeads. So this is what I think a lot of women, and even I guess men too, right? You guys brush your teeth. But for makeup, there's like exfoliating products that are using microplastics. They're called microbeads, and it is like I believe it's like the little glittery stuff that's in certain makeups and all that. That's the stuff, that adhesive is just plastic. And so most of the time you're going to get some of it in you, unfortunately. Whether it goes in your skin or it goes in your mouth and you swallow it or it gets in your bloodstream, it's a dangerous thing. That's just another reason to avoid toothpaste. I would say Uncle Harry's natural toothpaste is a way to go. There's a couple other ones to look into on Amazon. There's recipes. I use a deodorant, and that deodorant company, I'm pretty sure their Instagram is what I saw it on, Primal Life. They talk about all this stuff with like dental health, so you can get some tips there. Because the idea that you're brushing your teeth with plastic adhesive, like I think it's that little glitter stuff in there. I think that's plastic. So that's kind of a scary thing when you really think about it, because that's something you do every single day. And again, this is just adding to the numbers. So you want to bring that number down. So now the reason why you want to worry about plastic, why it's a thing to take seriously, is it's cytotoxic. So it hurts your cells. That's a big problem, as she labels here. And what she brings up is a really good point, that because your stomach's breaking this stuff down, it's super hot in there, the plastic is losing integrity right then and there. It's degrading. And so all the chemicals in there, PCBs, PBDEs, as she labels here, PAHs, they're all coming into your body now. They're all being released. So in the same way, you shouldn't be cooking with plastic, because of the heat, you're getting all that same garbage in you, probably worse. Because, with like phthalates and, BPA, these are issues, right? The plastic water bottles have the BPA. It's just leaching in there. And you start heating it up, it leaches even more. So when you're thawing something out that's in plastic, like these fast food companies do, they do it in boiling water. And that's probably why phthalates in fast food is so high. If you look at the study, the rates are out of this park. I mean, it's very dangerous. And even like Chipotle was on the list. And it was their meat. It was mainly their meat. And that's how I knew it had to be from how they thaw it out. Because I see how they thaw it out in freaking like boiling water. I don't get it. So now let's break down the salt. So there were, again, 12 different companies. And they're not completely labeled. Like this one, the first one is North Sea Salt. So on average, particles per, I believe, kilogram, it's 66.6. So pretty much one of the lowest. The standard deviation is a little high, so that's kind of like, it could range, because the range is as low as 0 to 7, depending on how much. But that's kind of like the luck of the, that's a lucky thing right there, right? And North Sea Salt's not really available. That's like from like, I think Greenland or Iceland or like Norway or something. The second is Celtic Sea Salt. So Celtic Sea Salt, they had two different ones. So I don't know which is which. I'm going to assume that Celtic Sea Salt 1, the one with lower plastic, is going to be the one that is the big name. And that one on an average had 113 particles per kilogram with the lower standard deviation, whereas the other Celtic Sea Salt had 187. So that's a pretty big difference there. Now, Sicilian sea salt, that's similar to Mediterranean sea salt, but it's specifically from Sicily, obviously, right? So the thing with that is it's actually pretty high. It's 220 particles per kilogram. But as we move down to Mediterranean sea salt, 2 samples came from Mediterranean sea salt, which is good to know that they were both the same, 133 particles per kilogram, because now you know that, okay, when I go to Trader Joe's and I find it for even cheaper than I do on the salt guide, I don't really have to worry too much if that's what my budget is going to allow. If I have to go with Mediterranean sea salt, I know that that's a decent option no matter what brand it is. So that's the good thing there. Utah sea salt is like Redmond's real salt, which we're going to get into shortly. That one right there, 113 particles per kilogram. Pretty low compared to most. It's actually tied with Celtic sea salt on an average, right? But the range goes, it's about the same actually. Now, Himalayan pink salt. I know you guys love this one. The rock salt, Himalayan rock salt. 13 to 37. So the range here is huge. The mean is 367 particles per kilogram, one of the highest on this whole list with a giant standard deviation. So it really ranges. But yeah, it's not as clean as you think. Hawaiian sea salt. This is a tricky one because I don't know if they're talking about the red salt or if they're talking about the regular Hawaiian sea salt. But yeah, the mean is 46.7. So one of the it actually is the lowest on average here, the lowest. So that's good news. Baja sea salt, I think that means like Southern California, like Mexico area. That's 173 particles per kilogram. And then Atlantic sea salt, very close, 180. Pacific sea salt, the dirtiest, probably due to China. It also probably depends where they got it from. If Hawaiian sea salt's so clean, but Pacific Ocean sea salt isn't, I really wonder where they got this Pacific sea salt. I mean, if it's like Chinese sea salt, that might explain why it's 100 or 806 particles per kilometer. So yeah, that's not a good thing, not at all. So really, I guess what you can learn from this is stay away from anything in the Pacific Ocean, period. So yeah, now we're gonna go into my guide, because the way I did my guide was based off of this. And yeah, so really, I'm not sure if the salt from Hawaii is the red one, and I'm going to read this back again, and I might have to update my salt guide. But for now, we have our best overall as Redmond's Real Salt, which is that Utah salt. Now, the reason why we have it best overall is it's ancient, and this is a thing that you have to remember. If something's ancient, yeah, sure, unfortunately, somehow, some way, this ancient salt still has plastic in it, but has lower amounts of plastic, and it's probably not going to have many other newer environmental pollutants like the glyphosate, like the just all that bad stuff that you hear about, like the forever chemicals. It's probably not going to have it. So this is just something it's a good option overall because it's ancient. So that's something to remember here. Ancient salt is the way to go with a lot of this stuff. Now, the budget-friendly one that we chose was the Hawaiian sea salt. Again, I'm going to have to review this here, and so you'll see the correction if it needs to be corrected. But Hawaiian sea salt is just slightly cheaper because Redmond's Real Salt is 36 cents an ounce. Hawaiian sea salt, 24 cents an ounce. If it's the red sea salt, I think that might actually be kind of ancient, but I'm not sure because I know that the red sea salt's mixed with like a clay. So I don't really know what the sea salt itself is. So for that reason, I just put the regular Hawaiian sea salt in there because I think that that's what it is overall. I don't know how much it matters. The 24 cents an ounce, like I said, lowest levels of plastic in this list. So a good choice right there, a decent one, kind of in the middle there. I think it's good if you have a budget. You don't want to spend as much as, Redmond's Real Salt is, but you want to get something decent. That's a good way to go. But because it is still sea salt and it doesn't claim to be ancient, and I don't think the red one is either, not sure though, you have to think, okay, forever chemicals, glyphosate, all this stuff could still be in there. And that's really the concern there. So our list all goes from lowest in prices, Mediterranean sea salt, which I already touched on, because it's not ancient, you run the risk of the forever chemicals and all that. But still, it's not the worst sea salt out there. Hawaiian sea salt, we just went over. Celtic sea salt, I don't know if it's truly ancient or not, but I do know that it's one of those salts that's kind of in between that. I don't know how old it is, but the company's been around for a while. The salt seems to be relatively clean, but there might still be contaminants there. The thing also with Redmond's Real Salt is it's super transparent. So you don't really have to guess here. Everything's right there for you. And that's what makes this hard because companies don't like to sit there and send you all this, that, and the other thing. And that's really why Redmond's is just best overall. But second is next on the list is Redmond's at 36 cents an ounce. Celtic sea salt, 29 cents an ounce. So not too much difference there. I think Redmond's Real Salt's better than Celtic sea salt. But now we're going to get into the two salts that are completely plastic free. So Colima, Mexico ancient salt is plastic free and ancient. 100% plastic free and ancient. This is the key thing. Now not only does it have no plastic, it also has probably no other modern day pollutants. So this is the healthiest salt, $1.56 an ounce. Now the next one on the list is the same thing, environmental toxin free basically, because it's an ancient salt, and it's also free of plastic. It's mountain spring salt. So this salt's really cool because basically it's from the US. It's in like the Andes, I believe. Let me get the picture here. It is yeah, so it's the Andes Mountains, and honestly, if you hit our link on the Amazon link, they have like the area where they get it from. It's so pretty. But yeah, this salt right here is good stuff. Seems to be very pure, very clean. They're pretty open about their stuff too, and they don't package it in plastic. That's a big thing right there. They use paper bags. So that right there is a plus. And so these are the different things you want to look into. That's all on the salt guide. Again, if I have to update the Hawaiian one, I will. But these are just, what we can agree on for sure is Redmond's real salt's going to be the best, considering how transparent they are, how clean they are, and the price and the availability. It's always available. Colima, Mexico, ancient salt, that's not always available. So that's something to remember. I'm going to go ahead and pause this for a second. I'm going to get a drink of water. It's pretty hot. So we'll continue this just right now with some more solutions. All right, got my drink. Let's continue. So we're going to talk about underwear because microplastics in the genital area, a big no-no. So when it comes to men's underwear, the big issue with something like polyester being there is just, again, the heat that it'll cause down there is bad in general, but it also means more leaching. And these chemicals are just bad. You don't want them in your reproductive system area, right? So that goes for both men and women. But with men, the concern is the temperature, right? You don't want high temperatures because after a certain number, your body stops making sperm. So sperm quality will go down the drain if you're wearing tight underwear, hot underwear, even if it's not polyester. Something tight is just not good. So, go for cotton. There's tons of options. You have Hanes, loose fitting stuff. You want to go for the loose fitting ones. There are some cotton underwear that is super tight, right? And, the issues even, it's harder with women. So with men, you guys have it pretty easy. Like, go out there, take a look. You'll see. I mean, I know for a fact that I can name, Target, Marshalls, Ross, all these places have tons of cotton underwear, almost 100% cotton. The only thing not cotton is the band. So that's really it. It's a lot easier. With women, there are all these designs. I know nowadays with men, it's a little more popular to have like SpongeBob on your ass cheek or like Captain Crunch on your thigh. I know that's a little more common now, but generally speaking, you can go with, plain underwear and it's not a big deal. With women, they like the laced stuff. They like this and that. And so, that's the problem with like laced things like, even lingerie. When women wear lingerie with their outfit, you'll see them with like a little jacket, the lingerie, and then jeans. The lingerie is that's like their underwear for that moment. That's all polyester. So that's not good because it's also raising temperatures, which can cause yeast infections, pH issues, and again, just tons of chemicals going in there. And with women, it's already bad because you guys are putting in I'll link these studies soon. There's some reports of 500 plus synthetic chemicals in your body a day that you're putting in. Other reports are above 100. Some are like above 200. So we know it's above 100 at least, and that's enough. That's a lot. So to keep doing this, you want to start somewhere, and I think polyester is a place where you can start and kick all that stuff out. Generally speaking, because even if it's not polyester, it'll be like nylon. It's still stuff from these petroleum based. It's just all bad. It's all bad. It's not natural, and that's the issue there. In the thing with women's underwear is just like men's. Even on Amazon with women's underwear, you can find tons of stuff. There's like Fruit of the Loom underwear, 100% cotton. I didn't even read anything saying there was any spandex or anything. So it doesn't even appear that the band is made out of like spandex or polyester or anything. So that's pretty cool. There's other brands that are like 95% cotton. So there's options there. And again, you can go to like your cheap stores like Ross, Marshalls, TJ Maxx. All these places are going to have options there. So check that out. And I guess also for women, bras is an interesting one. There's a lot of people who are pro bra, not pro bra. There's the whole that they make breasts sag. There's the whole, well, no, it's support, right? There's a whole debate to be had. It is what it is. There is a study that's saying that they make breasts sag. You choose to decide there, right? But look, the thing with bras, whether or not you decide to use them or not, the fact of the matter is that a lot of them use nylon. So you're still getting these petroleum-based chemicals. It's not a good thing. And I would just say look at your situations, figure out what works for you. Obviously, I'm not going to tell you what to do. That's stupid. Same thing with men. Go for what's comfortable, but take these things into consideration and know that your options are there's no limit on your options. And it's one of those things where it's not as hard as you think it is. It's really not. Like, yeah, you might, you're a guy, you might not have, Michael Jordan on your ass cheek, but guess what? Like, that's okay. That's fine. With women, yeah, you might not have like super laced up, like fancy looking underwear, but you can have something that looks like clean and simple, and that's fine. It's okay. You don't need to have SpongeBob on your ass cheek, and you don't need to have like all these weird designs, so that's something right there that's important. Now with clothing in general, again, like bralettes and all that, gonna be high with synthetic materials. So just look for stuff that's cotton. Look at like the Goodwill for shirts. For shorts, you can get, I got some Champion shorts on Amazon, really cheap, 100% cotton. The only thing not cotton, again, is the waist part. And, I'm okay with that. It is what it is. You can only control so much. Yeah, the shirts, again, very easy to find 100% cotton shirts. And look, rinse them out, and it doesn't matter what they painted them with. You know what I mean? That's a whole nother level. That's where it gets expensive. If you want to go for like organic cotton with like this certification and that certification on how they dyed it, that's where it gets a little expensive. So I just say start where it's affordable and just go for, cotton stuff, 100% cotton. Look for sales, all that good stuff. It's not the end of the world. I mean, you'd be surprised. Even some jeans are not, you know what I mean? They're not they're not as good as you think they are. A lot of those tights that girls wear for the gym, sure, if it helps, it helps. But, also don't be afraid. I know this one girl wears like just shorts to the gym and she's fine. So, do what you do, but take these things into consideration. And look, again, Marshalls, Ross, TJ Maxx, all these places are going to have the basic cotton stuff that you need. Socks, you can get Costco socks, very good socks, USA made, very thick, 100% cotton, good stuff right there. This stuff's available everywhere. So as we move on from like clothing and stuff, you make your decisions. I don't want to come off like the guy telling you what to do. I'm just putting this information out there. As for stuff like bedding, so they found microplastics in the lungs of humans. So everyone's wondering how to get there. I'm sure some of it's cigarettes, some of it is contaminants in the air, some of it's the microplastic in the air from the different materials of plastic, but also your pillow. Like you don't even think about that, right? I was looking for new pillows. Man, all of them have polyester in them. They're all filled with polyester. Finding a cotton-filled pillow is like impossible. So there are latex pillows now, and these are good because it's natural latex, natural materials, cotton, and the cushioning's pretty well on latex. I don't have one yet, but I will be getting one soon. I had one with feathers in it. Big mistake. Not supportive. I didn't like it. I'm returning it. But touching back on that latex thing, I know a lot of people have latex allergies, so you'll be happy to know that latex allergies are not really a thing with natural latex. In fact, it's very rare to have a reaction to natural latex, even if you have allergies to latex. So that's something to take into consideration. I would say go get these on Amazon so you can return them if you don't like them. But the other places you can get them are these different companies. I like My Green Mattress. That's a really good, they're like a more quote-unquote small business company, online only. The other company is Avocado. I just don't know what their pillows are looking like. But I know with My Green Mattress, they don't allow returns on the pillow, but they do send you samples of their latex so you can kind of like use it and see if it reacts to your skin. Because they swear like, it's so rare that you would have a reaction to natural latex. So they give you like a little sample of that latex. And it's usually because their beds are made with latex too. Same thing with Avocado. So these are good brands right here. My Green Mattress, you get them on a sale. They're really good because the customer service is amazing. The quality's great. There's not synthetic weird chemicals that are probably petrochemicals that are just like plastic in the mattress. That's not a thing because it's all like wool, it's latex, it's organic cotton, and it's all that good stuff. So the only other issue you have now is figuring out, okay, now I need to get a good bed frame, which they sell. My Green Mattress has a good wooden bed frame. You can get other wooden bed frames, Home Depot. There's other places. It's a little hard to find 100% real wood. And, that's why metal's another option. But yeah, these are, sorry, I went out for a second. But yeah, you want to keep it simple. The beds are not too expensive. Considering what you're getting. So between Avocado and My Green Mattress, you can kind of figure out what will work best for you based on your budget. But I highly suggest looking into those. Now for bedding, like sheets and all that, this is actually really easy. So I get mine at Target. Now Target actually stamps them with some certification. So the cotton's not organic, but I believe the dyes that they're using are pretty clean or something like that. Some sort of certification on there, so it's better than regular cotton at maybe Costco or something. It's slightly better since it has a certification. I don't know how much that means. I don't really know how significant it is, I should say, but it is better than nothing. That's how I look at it. So and plus you're gonna wash them before you even use them, so some of the chemicals left on there from the dye or from the processing are probably gonna be wiped off, and the rest is just what you can't control. But it's always gonna be better than polyester sheets. And that's the same thing with the comforter. So a comforter is another tricky one, but on Amazon you can find comforters, and they have like feathers in them and cotton in them. That's a little easier. You just want to make sure you read the labeling on all this stuff, because they'll get you. It'll say 100% cotton, and then it'll say filled with 100% polyester, and that's where they get you, especially with pillows, but with sheets too. So I just say go at Target. I believe they're still on sale. So go check Target stuff out. Target's really a good place. Just do a Target run, get your shirts, shorts, underwears, and the bed sheets. You'll be good to go. Because the bed sheets come with the pillowcases too. The only thing it doesn't come with is the comforter, which again you'll have to get on Amazon. And even if you get ones with feathers, I don't think it really matters, because the pillows are different than a comforter. So with the pillows, the feathered pillows I don't recommend them. But the comforter, I'm gonna try it out. So yeah, these are other things to do. I would say, don't cook with plastic. Anything that exposes plastic to heat, just avoid that. So cooking with plastic, get the silver, utensils, the silverware. Get the, a couple ceramic or glass plates. Get a couple glass cups. Again, this stuff's at Ross. This stuff's at the clearance section. You can get, mason jars for relatively cheap and use those as cups. You don't need straws. These are just simple things. They're cast iron only, stainless steel only, wooden and metal utensils for stovetop cooking. Same thing with the grill. So yeah, all that good stuff. These are small little things you can do. Pretty much that's really it. I don't really want to sit here and overwhelm people. So these are just some things you can take into consideration. Obviously, fabric softener is another one. I don't even know if those are microplastics, but I have a whole post on that, Herbal Necessities, how you can use baking soda instead, and you can use wool balls instead. So that's on our Instagram, Herbal Necessities 00. And yeah, again, just slap a filter on your water. Minimize the plastic content in there, or get filtered water somewhere, but avoid the plastic. It's a big thing. And avoid the polyester, and you should be fine overall. Obviously, you can't 100% avoid it. You can't 100% avoid it like in a car. So, there's certain places where you're going to lose the battle. So that's why where you can actually choose how you fight the battle, you definitely want to choose for the options that are in your favor. So, it's not as expensive or difficult as it seems. The same thing with healthy eating, right? And because of this, I'm going to put a Walmart shopping link up. I'm putting an Amazon shopping link up so you guys can see like what will be a wish list, but it'll just be a shopping guide basically. So you'll see it from Target, Walmart, and Amazon. You'll see the different things that I would recommend. And I'll put a couple options so that way if you have a little more money to spend, you can get a quote unquote better alternative to something. Maybe I can afford the organic cotton, so where can I get it? Okay, well, here's where you can get it. So you'd be surprised to see what you can get at Walmart and Target online. Same thing with Amazon. So it's all about just taking a little bit of extra time, and I'm going to try to speed that process up by putting these links out. I just want to make them pretty And, same thing with the salt guide. It was really about making it pretty. But, I'm saving you guys a lot of time, so that way you don't have to waste time, because time is money. And essentially, the harder part of living healthier is the time it takes to get all the facts together. And that's what I'm trying to stress here. So as soon as everything gets, sorry, this mic is messed up. So as soon as we get everything going and everything comes out pretty, you'll see it in our link tree. We're going to make it all work, make it all look nice and presentable. And you'll get, okay, this is where I can buy this, that, and the other thing. So it should be fairly easy for you guys to follow some of what we've been suggesting. And make it fun. Always make it fun. Don't stress out. That's the number one. It doesn't matter if you're living plastic free, if you're stressed every single day of your life, because that'll kill you before any amount of plastic will. So again, just live calm, live happily. And these are fun things you can do. Like, oh cool, cast iron now, a new pan. Oh cool, new clothes. Look at it like that. Don't take it too seriously. And so I'm going to go ahead and end it off here. Thank you guys for tuning in. Like, comment, subscribe. Check out the other podcasts that we have, the clips on YouTube. All the information you need for us, the Instagram, the Quora, all that good stuff. It's in our link tree and the link in the description. So just check all that stuff out. Share it, please. Let everybody know about our list, our guides. And with the salt guide, I'm going to go ahead and double check on the Hawaiian salt, because the red salt isn't too much different than the Hawaiian sea salt, and I just want to confirm that I didn't mess anything up. So the salt guide might change a little, or it might not, and you'll just see that. But yeah, go ahead and check our guides out. They'll be coming out more and more throughout the week, so hopefully you guys can change your lifestyle very soon and be a better you every day, because that's the biggest thing right there. You should always be afraid to be in the same position you were yesterday. So always be better than every day, day after day, a better you. That's it. That's the only thing you should worry about. Don't worry about who's saying what, who's doing what. Worry about you and doing better than you were yesterday. It doesn't matter if your neighbor's driving a Rolls Royce, If you didn't have a car yesterday, work on getting a car tomorrow. Work on it the next day, until you get a car. Worry about you, So with that being said, this has been another episode of Gnosis. So thank you guys. Remember, knowledge is power, and we are out. Till the next time.